We have come so far, and to actually come from nothing, because literally when we came home from South Africa, we had the clothes on our back. That was it. We didn't have anything else.
Friends and family will ruin your business because your friends and family believe you owe them something.
When you think you're going to have an award and everyone's going to flock into you and it's going to pay your wage for you, that's when I think it can become dangerous.
It actually changed our complete business because we were a jack of all trades. We'd done all types of photography, and we decided we got to throw that out the window to concentrate on newborns.
Hi and welcome to Behind the Lens, A Photographer's Life, and this week we've got Darren and Rhian with us in the studio. So, hi both of you. First of all, I'm going to start with Rhian, if you don't mind. Can you tell me, tell me the studio, what the studio's called and everything about the studio initially.
Okay, so we are Darren and Rhian Photography Studio. We have been running now for 16 and a half years. We started off as a general photographers. As we all do, we shoot everything. As the years went on, we found niches. We've done a lot of newborn for the last 7 years. And then 4 years ago, we started doing boudoir.
So where are you based? Whereabouts?
We are based in Swansea Valley, South Wales.
Right.
I could say Ystrad Gunlais, but I think everyone's going to go, where the heck is that?
So how then, if we're going to go to Darren, because Darren, you're the photographer. Rhian, are you a photographer?
No.
So, but it's a team. So you are why would you say you're not a photographer?
Because I don't pick up the camera and I have no clue how lights work.
Right. But you pretty much know, I would imagine, everything else.
Yes.
If Darren wasn't here, sorry, Darren, could you run a studio? Could you do it just by yourself?
I probably could manage. Yes, it would probably, obviously there would be a bit of learning.
So realistically, in my mind, then you are a photographer, because you could run a studio. You've got enough knowledge to do it. Yeah.
I suppose so.
It's the way we perceive things, isn't it? So, So Darren, you are the photographer. You're the one that picks the camera up. When did that start? When did that start in life, and how did that come about?
Well, it started when I was a young lad. I used to love going to the airport in my school holidays, with my best mate, and I'd be there taking photos of airplanes and things like that. And I used to just love taking the camera around me and photographing things. But generally, at that stage in life, when I was a youngster, it was mainly airplanes and things like that, because when I was a kid, I wanted to be an aircraft mechanic. So totally different to what I am, what we do today,
Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
But then...
And where did you go? From accents, because we know that Rhian's obviously got that Welsh accent. Where did you grow up? Where was that? Where were the airports? Where was that in the world?
I grew up in South Africa in a town called Boksburg, which is not far away from Johannesburg. And It was about 20 minutes away from the international airport.
Right.
But my accent's a pick and mix accent. It's not South African, it's not Welsh. It's my own unique voice.
Aren't we all? So, obviously, doing photographs of planes and things like that, and that was a hobby, love sort of thing. How did coming to be a professional start? When in your mind did you think, I could possibly do this and become a professional photographer?
Well, that's a hard one because I moved back to the UK when I was 17, and at the time, everyone's pushing. You get an apprenticeship, you do this, you do that. So I got an apprenticeship and become an electrical mechanical engineer. Then I met my lovely wife Rhian, and decided to go back to South Africa for a couple of years, trying to run away from Rhian. But she followed me, and the kids came with her. We enjoyed a couple of years in South Africa, and then when we returned back, it was 2009. It was the height of the global recession. So I couldn't get a job as a mechanical engineer, and I'm one I would not sit down and do nothing.
Right.
So I thought, what can I do? And I said to her, well, I'm going to turn my hobby into a profession. I thought it'd be easy sailings, but little did I know.
Yes, it's a bit different, isn't it, when you're suddenly taking a hobby and then want to go that next step?
Yeah.
So did you support him totally on this point? What were your thoughts about doing that? Because it's a big decision.
I was a little bit like, oh, okay. I was taken back a little bit, but then he said to me then, he said, yeah, and we're going to go and view a studio tomorrow. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is actually happening.
Right.
So yeah, it was, but I thought, what have we got to lose? At the end of the day, we've got 3 children. We need to support them. And yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. At the beginning, I wasn't working for the studio. And then after about a couple of months, I was doing reception work. And then obviously then I took over more roles as the business grew.
So right from go, realistically, within the first few months, you were both in needing a wage from a business.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. That's a big
I
limp
didn't
of
get
faith.
paid though. I done it in kindness.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you can look at it as a dual income family, isn't it? It's the money
Yeah.
coming into the family.
The-
Realistically, yes, everybody should be paid their own way, but when it's the two of you, you're a one, aren't you?
Yeah, I think what it was back then, we didn't know how to run a business.
Very naive on running a business.
So naivety. Do you think that naivety was the ability then to give you the ability to say, "I can do this"? If you knew what you knew now about the business, would you have suddenly jumped in and go, "Oh yeah, I can do this" back then?
Yes, I probably would have, but I would have started off on a much better foot than what we did.
Right.
We started off thinking, right, well, it's we can charge very low prices, get people in, we'll open our doors, and they'll come flooding through.
Did it happen?
Reality, it doesn't work like that, does it?
No.
And that's where, and the problem is then, because we started on low prices, it was hard then to actually, when we realized what we needed to actually charge, it was very hard to actually do a price change and things like that.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things, a biggest mistake that I think anybody that's starting out would probably make is, and it's in everything, isn't it? We turn around and say, "Oh, if you get the price low, everybody will want it." Well, that's
Yeah.
I mean, iPhones and PCs aren't cheap either, but everybody wants them. It's relative to what you're actually producing, isn't it? And I think the key thing, and I think for anybody starting out, the most valuable lesson would be to say, this is what I need to achieve to stay open.
Yeah.
It's got to be this. And we all see it, don't we? Everybody undercharges too much when they're in the first stages of
Yeah.
starting a business. And I think others in the other people in the podcast previously have said, it's knowing your worth.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that's a lot to do with it as well, is that you don't realize your worth. You don't realize that you just think you're just taking photos. That's all it's about. It's about just taking photos. It's not about anything else. And you've got a business to run, and that's the main thing I think is you've got to learn to run a business. And that's we've only been doing that I would say the past 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Since
So it's
COVID, basically.
so that's quite a huge learning of and becoming a photographer business, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like, you said 16 years, did you say to us there?
Yes.
So that's like 10, 11 years in the wilderness to get to where you want to start being. Right. So those years of the wilderness, what would you turn around and think, what were the high points? What were the low points of that time?
I'd say some of the high points were we've always had a very good name for ourselves, locally and with our clients.
Why would that be then, Darren? What was, because that's a secret. There's a secret there somewhere. What's that secret?
I don't know. I think it's we just try and be us in the studio. We don't focus on. I know this sounds silly, but we don't focus on selling. We never have focused on selling, which in the beginning maybe we should have focused a bit more on selling. We actually focused a lot on customer care, being friends with people and things like that. Now, yes, it's great in business to be friends with somebody, to be friends with your clients. However, you need to also separate the friendliness from the professionalism as well.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, the friendliness is why you get that reputation. So then you're saying that, did you become too friendly?
Yes, sometimes, yes.
In some ways.
And what's the disadvantage of that then?
You
People take advantage, and they actually, living in a small village, you do get people asking, oh, I know your mother and I know your father, and so can I get discount?
Right. So it's the old, I won't pay my brother to do something. I don't want to pay my sister. I don't want to pay my best friend. They should do it for free. Yeah. And when you're running a business, that's just not viable, is it, really?
No, it's not. And the thing is, as Darren said, because we started off with our prices so low, it was hard then to increase them and still keep our clients happy.
Yeah, but it wasn't hard so much for our clients as such. It was more our internal battles on price increases and things like that. We had a phobia of increasing the prices and things, and everything we done back then was run by our fear. We would almost be trying to be thinking for our clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't think for your clients. Your client's their own person. So yeah, we had a lot of learning curves there. I think the lowest part in that time was Rhian became very ill at one stage and spent almost 6 months in prison.
Did she, Rhian? Really? I need to delve into this one.
6 months in hospital. God, where did that come from?
Right. Okay. Are we sure?
Yes.
Yeah, I was kept in hospital. Yeah.
It was like a prison for you, wasn't it? But yeah, 6 months in hospital, and because I ended up spending so much time down the hospital, we actually almost lost the business.
Right.
We were basically just about to close our doors because we needed income, you know.
So have you put anything in place for if something like that ever happened again?
We didn't
Is
know we didn't know
Well,
we had to,
yeah,
really.
back then we didn't, but now we have. Now
right?
the two things we do now is we use a profit first accounting system. So we put a little bit each month aside in a savings account, which then builds up for any rainy days. And the other thing we've done is we find it compulsory that we've got to have medical insurance because all Rhian needed back then was an operation, and it could have been done and dusted and back to work fairly quickly. However, as everyone knows, the NHS, you're in a queue when you wait your turn, and that's what sort of led to the long term sort of waits.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's a fantastic thing that it's free, but if you're in a queue and you've still got your life and business to run, yeah.
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 Uh, yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't get sick pay.
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? You know, when you're self-employed, it's if there's no income coming in, there's no one to pay the sick pay or anything like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So, well, at least you've learned from that. You've learned from that, and you've put
Yeah.
something in which and I think anybody else watching and listening, it's a good lesson to learn that you know if you are on your own and doing something like this, and something happens, car crash, break your arm, break your leg,
Yeah.
whatever can happen, you can certainly if
Well,
things aren't
that's
running.
the thing. You've got to close the doors. There's no income.
Yeah, and
So
it'll always happen at the worst time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so, with the photography, was it a joint decision on what your genres? Was it something that you both
I would
said, "Let's
say
do
I
this,"
would
or
say
what was?
it was joint. You know, I think we've always sort of like talked very well. We've had some discussions and we've had some heated discussions, but we tend to sort of like go on the same path. Um, you know, I wouldn't when we were at our lowest, when I was ill, we did go on we were invited on a course, a newborn course. Um, that really helped us step in the right direction of having a niche. Um,
We actually we actually cancelled going on the course, and
Right.
we got talked into it, um, purely because we just didn't have the funds to go up, and even driving up to the course, we were contemplating, have we done the right thing? Because it was a long way away. We had to travel. We had to stay overnight. We really didn't have that money behind us, and we questioned ourselves all the way up. We'd done the course, and then all the way back, we went, glad we'd done that. New approach from tomorrow, and that's when we changed to newborns.
Okay, so learning and going on an educational side of things. What was it in that particular course that you suddenly? What were the takeaways that you went, "Wow, yeah, that's something that we can implement into the." I couldn't get my words there. Implement into
I
your
think it
business.
was chatting with the other photographers, chatting with the trainer, and I helped pose a baby once or twice, and she came back and she was like, "Who did that?" And I was like, "Me." And she was like, "You've got the knack. You can do this." And it was just like that, encouragement, to actually help us to go right. Okay, yeah, we can do this, and maybe we can sort of like have a living out of it. Um,
We came back from the course, going right. We actually changed our complete business because we were a jack of all trades. We done
Right.
all types of photography, and we decided we got to throw that out the window to all the families discussed to concentrate on newborns, and all the family went, "You're stupid doing that. You shouldn't do that," and that, because we niched right down into newborns. That was it was a good thing for us. Again, we ended up having a very good name for ourselves. We
had a lot of awards as well.
Yeah, which we don't actually use much anymore.
We talked about that. I mean, I talked about that in the last time with Dwayne the week ago, and he turned around and was talking about awards and things like that. And what's your opinion on that?
I think it was more of our realizing our worth, our self-esteem. It was
So it gives
for
you the
our
confidence.
ego.
It gives you the confidence that you think,
Yeah,
I can charge these prices because I am doing something that's good.
yeah, I think it was that kind of thing, and I had
The imposter syndrome.
yes.
Okay,
And we
explain
had
a bit more about that then, Darren. What do you mean by that?
I think because we wasn't formally trained, and we never left uni or college or not with any sort of degree about lighting and things like that. We learned everything we've learned ourselves through various courses, things like that. And I think for me at the time, it was a thing of, was I good enough? I felt as an imposter all the time, and when we'd go to like events or anything like that, in conferences and that, you'd have some of these photographers start talking to you and get very technical and things like that. I'm not a technical person. I'm not a techie. So when they start using big words around me to do with photography, I'm like, okay, I really understand you, but you sound like you know a lot more than me, and I felt out of my depth.
Does it matter?
Not at all. But back then, I didn't realize. And when you're in associations tend to push they tend to push qualifications, they tend to push awards and things like that. Client doesn't care. The client doesn't care.
But we do as photographers, and there's some aspect to say, that it's irrelevant, isn't it? But then I don't think it actually is. And from what I've heard and discussed, and I think it is, because it gives you that self-confidence.
Yeah.
And self-confidence is so important in everything in life.
I think it depends on how you work on it as well. I think if you're doing it for self-confidence and and so forth, I think that's fine. When you think you're gonna have an award and everyone's gonna flock into you and it's gonna pay your wage for you, that's when I think it's gonna become dangerous. Because it might work for a couple of weeks, but then after that, then you die down again. Then you need another award. And then you need, and so forth. And it's just like a vicious circle.
And at the end of the day, we were getting awards all the time, and we were entering monthly competitions and things like that, and we were getting small awards, and we were advised back then, every award you get, advertise, push it out, to tell people, celebrate it, which is great. But in the end, your clients get fed up of going, oh, I got another award again. Oh, okay, there we are. They get fed up of hearing that you've got monthly awards and things like that, and those awards then become sort of baseless, really.
Right.
It's
good for the self-esteem.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily good for clients.
No.
In that way. Right.
No.
So it's also a thing of, depends on how you run it. You can spend a lot of time and a lot of money trying to win awards because you set it up for this, you set it up for that. You're spending money, you're spending time, which can then hinder your business because
Right.
you're concentrating on awards, not on your business.
Yeah. So really, what you're in your mind, you're saying if you want to do it and it's something you'd like to do, separate it out and
Yeah.
do it as a
Yes.
separate thing, but don't use it as a method to think it's going to make a difference to your business.
No. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to make a difference to you, the way you feel about you and your confidence and things like that and stuff. But yeah. Right. Okay. So
The
that's
long term
it's an
of it,
interesting way
you'll
of putting
get
it.
a lot of clients.
Yeah. So you obviously did a lot of newborn. What was the fun in that? And do you still do newborn first? Are you still doing that?
We're doing few and far between now. There's a few reasons. Um, so Darren's had 5 knee ops. So obviously getting on his knees for newborns is quite
Okay.
an ordeal. The other one is since we've started doing boudoir, it's touched our hearts in such a way that nothing ever we've done in the past has ever
Surely
compared.
working with babies would touch your hearts more.
It's either
I
in.
love a cuddle. I love
Yeah.
a cuddle. I do get peed and pooed on. It's that's one thing. And it's lovely, don't get me wrong. I do love it, but it's not the same as helping someone change their life. It's just not the same.
The difference in the photography is with a newborn, you're almost creating memories of what's happening now. Where with boudoir, you were creating a future with the photography. You were changing the client's life for the better, for the future, and I think that's the main difference. Like if we've had loads of different women in here, different
But aren't you
issues.
changing the life for the parents for the better to have those memories?
Yes, to a degree. However,
Always a
when
thing.
you're young,
Yeah.
you don't
Value
understand
it as much.
the value. When you're young, you also think straight well. I haven't got as much money as what a say a 35-year-old Korean woman has whose kids are growing up has got. A young parent is almost looking for. They want the memories, but they also find it hard because they haven't got that disposable income to spend thousands of pounds on photos.
And it's relative, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
yes, you can't. If you could give it away, you could give it away, but you can't because you need to earn a living to pay the bills. So that price has to be of a certain price for the quantity of time. How many, with doing newborn, how many hours would you spend with a client then back then? What was the time? Because people just think, well, yeah, just taking a picture, but what?
Actually, on average, we would probably be about an hour and a half to 2 hours in the studio. We were very, very quick and efficient, really, with our newborns. We'd have the odd one that was 4 hours.
But that's only client facing. They don't behind the scenes. We'd probably
Yes.
spend another 6-7 hours behind the scenes, editing, getting products ready, and so forth. But going back to the session, Rhian were quite efficient because every course that I went on, Rhian went on.
Right.
So if I wanted something done, Rhian knew exactly what I wanted done because she'd been on the same course.
She knew why.
She knew why, she knew how. And we would have quite a few compliments off parents sitting there going, God, we sat here, we've watched you in amazement, how you're just pointing and doing this and doing that, and you're both in sync doing what you're doing. It was quite mesmerizing, you know.
So, would you say to anybody else then, if you've got staff, doesn't matter. I suppose if it was would you take your receptionist, or would anybody, think about the staff. Some people, Guy had at one point 16 staff.
Yeah.
Would you turn around and think about saying, right, rather than just taking you on a course, would it be more valuable to take everybody on the course?
If we had staff, I think, it is vital.
I also think it also does depend on the on what they're going to be doing within the business,
Roles, yeah.
the roles they've got in the business, because you're not going to take a cleaner to go and do a photography course, if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
So it all depends on the role. But if you're meeting and greeting clients and you're involved in that photo shoot,
Yeah, the day-to-day. Yeah, day-to-day
then
running.
yes, I think it's quite important that as many people go on the courses as possible, because it gets you on the same wavelength. Because if we don't go on a course together, right, and this is especially husband and wife, probably more. If I went on a course and came back and said, right, Rhian, we're going to do this way, I would have, we have been doing it that way for so many years. Why am I changing to this way? But because it's a third person saying it to Rhian, she won't argue with them. Well, she'll argue with me because I'm a husband, which is natural, you know?
Yeah. But I do
Yeah.
think it's vital that anyone who is in your day-to-day role of running your business should be on the same courses as you.
So, what was the turning point of saying, right, I'm going to move away from newborn and go to boudoir? What was the turning point for you, especially that you thought this is something? Because I know you've done one yourself,
What?
with a
So
different photographer.
How it came about was I've talked about doing boudoir for quite a few years, and I could see the power in it myself. Rhian couldn't see the power in it. Now, when we were on a newborn course, funny enough, um, up at one of the associations, Stuart was there, and
Who's
I said,
Stuart? Who's Stuart?
yeah,
And where's he? Where's he?
he's Nottingham. He's
Right.
photo Nottingham. He's had a boudoir studio for years, and probably one of the best in the area. You're
Okay.
lucky for saying that.
He'll like you then. I think he'll like you
Yeah.
for saying that. I'm sure. Right.
But so I approached Stuart because I'd known him for years, and I said, how much would it be for you to train me up to do boudoir?
Okay.
And his words were, I'll charge you X amount. However, Rhian has got to do a boudoir shoot.
Okay. That's nice, isn't it? Yeah. I obviously saw something in you, Rhian, that he was like, oh, I'll have you in front of my
I think
camera.
his way was, because he knew I was hands-on in the studio, if I didn't do the boudoir shoot, then I wouldn't actually understand how it would all work and what to expect.
Right.
From posing all the way through, really. So yeah, that's how it started. So I literally went because I was going on a course.
Okay.
I was extremely nervous. I didn't need to be. I was actually fine. But it was the best thing and the best advice Stuart actually ever gave me. once I did that, I felt so alive that I was like, you know what, I can definitely do this for ladies where I'm from.
Right. So it was that. What? Right. Okay. So what? When you did that, why did you believe that you suddenly could do that for anybody else? What was the triggering point that you thought, oh, actually,
Oh my God, I felt alive. I
right?
felt amazing. I felt as if I could take on the world. I felt like a right sexy bitch, which I haven't felt in many years. Um, Especially after the illness I had, 5 operations on my stomach. So I'm not nowhere near the person I was when I was 20. None of us are, but
Hmm.
things change. And I found that person back inside me. I found Rhian again, and I thought, and then I actually understood what it was about.
Okay. So when you did your first boudoir shoot, can you remember that one?
Yep.
Can you? Who was the client? You don't tell me the name, but can you remember the client? How did that come about?
Well, we had 3 of our friends come in first of all
Right.
to actually practice on, because we wanted to sort of like have some photos to have a portfolio and things. So, that was a bit of a learning curve for us. So we had 3 friends in just to sort of like get to grips with it all. And then after that, think, if I'm correctly, I think Sharon was probably one of our first clients.
Yeah.
Right.
She's still on the wall with us now.
Okay. Okay. So was that different then, handling and working? Was that for you, Darren? Was that a different thing? Did that cause anxiety? Because, suddenly dealing with a different type from a baby to somebody that's wearing lingerie and walking around with not a lot on, that
It's
it's a different mindset set for people to get round. Was that a challenge for you?
it wasn't a challenge as such. It was a thing of, right, I'm gonna have ladies coming out in lingerie and that, and when you're actually in the studio, you're more concerned in setting up the lights and making sure that it's flattering them than what they've got on.
Yeah,
You know,
it's yes,
is
and
it
I
is
think people don't realize that
yeah,
you could be take. I always say at the end of the day, when you're taking someone, you've got that human interaction, but you could be photographing an apple in a still life shot.
yeah,
Still got to be creative and lit well, and the only difference is you're talking to them. You
yeah,
know, or a baby, they're probably asleep, or
yeah,
you know.
yeah. But I think that's what, like, having a couple of our friends in first of all to do it helped me in that respect as well. Sort of um know that I'm not going to be sort of looking at the ladies, and I'm concentrating on lighting, and that's it's a I think as well it helps some ladies having a male photographer for
Yeah.
a boudoir shoot. It's
So why
sometimes
would you say that? Because
it's
and this is a contentious thing, isn't it? A lot of people say need to be a female, and I think females are great doing boudoirs. There's many are fantastic, and I'm going to hopefully have some on here as well. But then the public go, "Oh, it's a man." Why? Why do you think what you were saying there?
it's I think it can vary from person to person, but um I'll just give you an example. We had one client come in. She was she was really badly abused by her husband when she was with him. When she eventually got out of the relationship, she didn't trust any man. She wasn't trusted of any man.
Hmm.
But she ended up coming to us for a boudoir shoot, right? And after the shoot and everything, she felt so empowered that she let another man into her vulnerability, she actually gave me a hug afterwards. Which she hadn't hugged a man for years.
Right.
Whereas if she had done it with a woman,
Yeah.
she wouldn't have had that empowerment to overcome her
Fear.
her fear.
Right.
As women go to pools and that, they get changed in front of each other to go swimming and gyms and that. They don't go into male changing rooms. So so a female going to a male photographer and getting undressed and getting very vulnerable, it sometimes can give them more empowerment because they're in that situation.
They've overcome a fear.
Yeah.
They're facing that fear.
But yeah. So there's, I mean, at the end of the day, there's relevance for all, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
and as you say,
I think I think there's a lot of ladies out there that ever do think of doing a boudoir. They don't realise what most people are doing it for. They're right, and what I would say, the photographer's worth the salt, as my dad would have said. They're doing it for the right reasons, and it's understanding those right reasons. And that's how would somebody understand then that you're doing it for the right reasons? What makes your clients understand you're doing it for the right reasons?
I think when I communicate with them on the phone, first of all, so as soon as I'm the person to go to. So from the word go, I feel as if I've got a lot in common with them. I've got grown-up children. I've been in bad relationships. I've had, things going on in my life. I've had I've had C-sections. I've had a hysterectomy.
So when you're talking then instantly, because you're talking about boudoir, you're talking about ladies of a certain age.
Yeah, I would
Is
say.
boudoir not the younger age? Is that not?
No, it's available for everyone. But I would say our clientele tends to be, I would say, 40 plus. We do have the odd ladies that are in their 30s, but majority of the time it is 40 plus. A couple of years down the line, things may change a little bit because we are on about taking on a younger um, person in the studio, so she may be able to appeal to younger clients. But at the moment, people who, I don't know, they've got a lot in common with me. That
Your clients are a reflection of you.
Yeah. We
Right.
went on a long journey to find out our why, and we had help. We had help from Ronan to find out our why.
Okay. Who's he?
Well, Ronan Ryle is well he is one of the owners or mentors of the Difference Maker. He's got 3XM, and he works a lot with photographers.
Okay.
And he's very very knowledgeable in business, and he helped both myself. Well, he's helped both myself and Rhian get to where we got to today. One, finding out our why, and business wise.
Why is that? I know it sounds daft saying your why. Why is that important? What do you mean? Because I understand that.
think,
For a lot of people out there, don't.
yeah,
Because I've read the book. There's a book that you can get from it.
I think it's really important because when you find your why and your purpose and why you're doing what you do, you connect with your clients on a completely different level. It's not just coming in and having a photo taken then. It's an experience. It's a relationship. You build rapport with them. I think it's just you take photos with a purpose now.
And you enjoy coming to work every day.
Yeah.
And I think the book, if anybody does want to find it, it's worth reading, because it doesn't matter if you're photography or anything in life. It's it fits absolutely
Yeah.
everything in life, and I think that's
Yes.
what's the good thing about it, isn't it? Yeah. So, what's the joys that you've had from working together, and what's been the biggest stress working together? Because I worked with my wife. I've worked with my father. I worked with my uncle. My business was is a family business as well. But what's been the true joy being able to work together?
Um, as I say, it was very trying the first couple of years. Quite often I used to walk out and I'd walk around the village and I'd come back. But I think I've learned to nod a lot, you know, because Darren likes to be right all the time. So, but I think it's just, oh my gosh, we got so much pride now and love for what we do. We have come so far, and to actually come from nothing, because literally when we came home from South Africa, we had the clothes on our back. That was it. We didn't have anything else. And to come from that to where we are now, where we've got a successful business, we have got a clientele that we absolutely love and adore to capture and help. We have got photographer friends from all over the world.
Well,
You
can I
know,
just stop you there? What you say successful business, right? What do you define as a successful business in your mind? What's been the changing point from it being a business to being a successful business? And I don't mean physicalities. I mean, what concept in your mind has it changed? Is
I'm
it
finally getting paid.
right? Okay. Because success can mean so many different things to people. I mean, somebody else might say, I'm successful business because they've won so many awards and they've done this and done that. To you, when you think, oh, I'm running a successful business, obviously it comes to the fact you're getting paid. But what is it? Because like you could say, well, I'm getting paid £1, I'm getting paid
Yeah.
$2, $5, whatever you're getting paid. What is it that says, oh, it's now successful in your mind?
I think it's just
It's
because
a
we're
hard one,
starting
isn't it?
to live a little bit. We're starting to realize now. I think it's because we just really enjoy what we do now. It just really reflects on us that we smile when we've got clients coming in. We're not like, oh, I wonder what baby's going to be like today. I wonder if baby's going to cry. I wonder if baby's going to do this. We can't wait to get into work. We can literally cannot
So
wait
it's
to talk
you're
to
not
people.
just paying the bills, you're living the life that you love.
Yes,
Wow,
yes,
that's good, isn't it?
yeah.
You know. It, so, what would you say is the biggest thing that's made that change to being successful? Is it the pricing? Is it the is it what you do? What is it?
I I think it's more understanding our clients. Um, it's like the last couple of years, like we have been with the difference making, they've helped us a lot. Understand defining our clients and understanding them more, and the more we give to our clients, the more they give back to us as well. In
But wasn't that the
return,
same with your friends? When you were saying earlier on, you had friends, you were making clients of friends. So what? Because you were saying your
There's a
reputation.
difference.
is it
Okay.
is the difference in the aspect of our target audience now. We advertise to a lot bigger area, right? I would say about 90% of our work does not
Hmm.
come from local people.
Right.
90% of our work comes from at least half hour away, up to like an hour
Right.
and a half, 2 hours away. We even
Okay.
had somebody the other day coming down from Bath, stayed 2 nights in an Airbnb in a hotel to use us, and went back to Bath.
Right. Right.
Yeah, past photographers to come to us.
Yeah.
So we must be doing something right in that respect when we speak to our clients on the phone to actually.
So basically, what you're saying is a balancing line between being really friendly but still being professional
Yes.
business. That this is we're doing it. We're doing this for a reason, and
Before starting the business, one thing I can't remember who, but one thing someone told me in life that's always stuck is friends and family will ruin your business, because
okay,
your friends and family believe you owe them something. If you had a fish shop and your family come in, they would expect you to have fish and chips for free or for a very low price. So they not think, a lot of friends and family, especially, I wouldn't say close friends, I would say more sort of acquaintances,
Acquaintances.
people who think they're friends, but they're more acquaintances than your true
right,
friends. They
And with
expect you to
family, I
give
would
them,
say it's more extended
yeah,
family.
and they expect you to give discounts. They expect you to work, to go into work when they want to come in, and so so they don't. They actually almost try and dictate to you and lead you astray. So
yeah.
if you fall into that trap and you give discounts to them, and you don't have um a sort of point on where you give discounts to, they expect, a lot of them expect something for nothing.
So, do you give discount now to anybody for anything? Do you
We
do that?
do, we do give discount now. Our close family and friends, we will give a 30% discount to them, and that's across the
Across the
board.
board. Yeah.
And we know from day one, if they contact us, we will give them a 30% discount, because that's what we've worked.
I think that's a really good idea. If you set out a principle right from go
Yeah,
that, hey guys, this is my job, this is how I pay my mortgage,
yeah.
this is
Yes.
how I live my life and everything, and you say, to them all, look, love you to come, but it's what it is this is it. I think that gives a separation line, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it actually puts things in perspective because obviously they realizing then this isn't just a hobby. It pays our bills. So for us to have you in means I've got to tell a client I can't fit them in. So
Yeah.
you've got to pay, it's got to be, fair on both.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but
yeah.
but
I think that's a really good idea for anybody that's thinking of, certainly anyone starting out and wanting to put little rules in place to
yeah.
Yes.
say these are things that we do, and that's it. It's black and white. Boom. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And I
I,
think that's the
but,
thing. I think it's up to you then. It's up to the discretion of you. Do you know what I mean? But at least you've got it all in black and white and how it all goes.
and the thing is, by having a lot of our clients coming from out of the area, they don't know us personally in the streets and things like that. So they tend to deal with you as a business. So you're making friends with them, and you are friendly with them, but it's not like you're going to stop in Tesco's and have a chat on the freezer aisle for half hour. You know,
I'm going to just take us back a little bit again. When you first started, Darren, and you said, right, I'm going to open a studio, and what was it that you were looking for? And when you suddenly went, right, I found a place, how did you know what you needed?
it, it was the funny thing with the way we started was, um, when I found the place and that, I actually took an advert out in the local magazine that goes through the doors, basically doing a bit of market research, and I had a wedding photographer approach me and say, if I can have a room in your building, I will help you get started, and I'll do weddings because that's all I want to do, and you carry on doing the portraits, and we can pass work back and forth each other. So I thought, that's great. So he helped advise what I should purchase at the time to sort of get started.
Did you never think about doing weddings?
No, because our thought back then, whether it's right or wrong, is our thought was back then weddings were predominantly Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and basically in the summer months, right? And when we actually sat down and thought about it, we thought, well, if we got a studio here and that's not open on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, well, that's in our mind is a bit sort of silly because most people have Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday off work. But in our sort of heads, we were thinking we'd have to sacrifice one side of the business to do the other. So we thought, no, we're not going to go down the wedding route. And to be honest, I don't think I could deal with an emotional bride, an emotional bride's mother, or mother-in-law. I, I'm a peaceful chap. I like simple, quiet, straightforward things.
So what was your first camera? What was your first kit? What can you remember? What lights? What did you get?
The first lights I had were sort of like just cheap fit Interfit, no, can't even remember now. But they were cheap satellites, and actually, the wedding photographer brought the lights with him as well. So they were his lights I were using. The cameras I bought, the great advice he did give me was always have two cameras. Never work with one, because if one breaks, you need a backup straight away. So I went out and bought two Fuji S5 Pros, because I was advised at the time that even though they're only a 6 megapixel camera, they shoot a 12 megapixel photo. And I was sold that, like, by the way the sensor is made up, how much of it is true, I haven't got a clue. I'd say I'm no techie. I just believe the jargon.
Yeah, and we were chatting about that before, weren't we? Saying that is that how many of us actually really understand and know, but as long as it's in focus,
yeah,
and I think that's the key thing, isn't it? As long as it's in focus and it does the things that we need it to do. There's a lot of things that my camera does that I don't think I've ever used, But
the same with my camera now does a lot more than I use.
But the key thing with any camera, isn't it? Really, is as long as it has the facilities to do what you need as in your profession. That's is the key, isn't it? And then I suppose there's other aspects that people go into as well. So spending all that money, where did that come from? How did you get to spend that, when you're starting out, to suddenly go, wow, I'm going to have to spend money on kit and furnishing, a building, and
as you know, we came back from South Africa with nothing, so borrowed money off parents and in-laws, and we also had a Prince's Loan grant at the time, and
wow, right.
there was also we also had a local council grant at the time to help us get kitted out.
So how long did it take you before you made your first profit then?
That's a tough one. I'd probably say in my mind I was making a profit every year, as such a small profit. However, we wasn't really, because Rhian wasn't getting paid. She was volunteering her services. Um, that doesn't sound very good, mind, but but yeah. So realistically speaking, getting the business side right, I'd probably say about 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
So yeah, so that's to being where you are now. But obviously, you must have been making money to pay your bills, to pay your mortgage, to pay for the children and everything.
We Yeah, we were we were yeah. I'd say even though we still had business and that, at the time we had three children living at home, so we had the government sort of help, like family credits and things like that, which that helped. And then we were sort of dipping into the business to take money where when we needed it. We didn't have a holiday for 10 years. We actually had we then had our first holiday alone abroad. We did last year.
Right, right. So yeah, so it's it's a funny moment, isn't it? Because it's an existence, but
Yeah,
you're still in existence doing a passion that you wanted
yeah,
to do.
yeah,
What was it? The passion that carried you on? What was because obviously to a lot of people would just go, hang on, I'll go now. The country's out of recession, I'll get a different job again. What was it that kept you going?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's a it's a very very strange thing, isn't it, to suddenly have to think, what can I do? And that pride of I don't want to give up because I love what I do,
yeah,
is very difficult. So then you've got to find that position of, well, what is it that I need to, what metrics do I need to hit? And you mentioned earlier about profit first, and that side of things, understanding that. Um, would you say understanding the business side of things is more important than understanding the photography?
yeah. 100%.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah, yeah.
So, if you were going, if your children and you weren't photographers and they were going to be, and they said, Dad, Mum, I want to become a photographer, what would you say is the most important thing first to learn?
To be honest, I would say, in not just photography, in any business, is to actually learn business in the aspects of understanding your numbers and what you need to work, what you need to make to earn the living that you want.
Yeah,
Because everyone can anyone can run a business, but is it the living they actually want?
yeah,
Not always, is it?
yeah. So that I think that's key, isn't it? And then so it doesn't matter if you've been a photographer or anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the business side of it. So we then go back to the creative side, which is obviously your thing, Darren.
Well, I think it's helping people, and I think the if you what a lot of people don't understand is the more you earn as such. I know it sounds a bit backwards, but the more you earn, the more you can help. If you, I'm a great believer in look after yourself before you can look after others, and
Yeah. Hmm.
and the more we are helping people, the more we get rewarded for it, but the more help we can actually give back as well.
Yeah.
And
Because
that
you're
is,
under less pressure
yeah,
because you're helping more people,
yeah,
and it's a spiral upwards.
yeah. And I think that is the biggest thing at the moment that gives us joy is we are helping so many people.
Yeah. 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 So you You found the passion. Well, thank you both very, very much for your time today. I hope this passion continues for many more years for both of you, and and bring smiles and change people's lives like you want to do so. And so thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, lovely. Cheers, guys. If you've enjoyed today's episode, if you could just do me one favour, and that would be to like and subscribe, and I'll do my best to make sure Behind the Lens finds the best professional photographers from all over the world so we can enjoy their life stories. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.